Well, he did it. Mark Carney put together a majority through slimy backroom deals he got with opposition MPs, who he brought to cross the floor, and solidified it by winning 3 by-elections a few days ago. Let's talk about what that means now to the country, shall we? Trust me, there's a lot. I'm Max Penner, and this is Roughneck Radio. Before we begin, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel and helps us reach more and more people and expand our audience. And we're also on platforms like Rumble, and you can join our Discord server if you're interested in that too. Anyway, so on Monday, the Liberals won 3 by-elections in the GTA, the Toronto area, and one in Montreal, which was Terrebonne.
Ready to make a call. Well, there you have it. Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberals have formed a majority government, taking the riding of University of Rosedale in Toronto to reach 172 seats.
This is the first Liberal majority government and the first in Canada since Justin Trudeau formed a majority back in 2015. But at this moment in time, it remains a technical majority. The Speaker of the House is Liberal, so that Speaker will still need to cast a vote if things remain stagnant at this point in order to break a tie. But, and I will say it's a big but, that changes if the Liberals win another seat, which they very much look on track to doing. Right now, they've clinched University of Rosedale, but in Scarborough Southwest, they have a very sizable lead at this point.
Terrebonne was won really close. I think it was like 1 or 2% or something, maybe a bit more of the vote. But obviously the 2 Toronto ones were Liberal strongholds, so the Liberals won quite decisively there. So now the rhetoric is that their majority was won over the by-elections, which is entirely false, and I am glad that some mainstream media outlets are pointing this out, that the Liberals picked up no new seats in these by-elections, and actually they were all just Liberal holds.
Hi, Prime Minister. Gillian Piper with Global News. You've been able to obtain a majority in large part thanks to 5 floor crossers, which the Conservatives have labeled as anti-democratic. Are you concerned the way you got your majority will erode Canadians' trust in our democracy?
Well, first, I'd point to the election results last night. We have a majority now in the House of Commons, thanks to the electors in Scarborough Southwest, in Terrebonne, and in University Rosedale. And as concerns individual deputies who make a choice to support the government's program at this crucial time for the country, whether they're from whatever political stripe, orientation, geographic region they come, consistent with the government program, we're fortunate to have them, and we're moving forward together with them.
But the by-elections last night were in Liberal holds, so you didn't get any new seats.
Well, I mean, Terrebonne, as-tu vu, Terrebonne, normalement, c'est... Ouais, c'est... OK. Dans le jugement du Cour suprême, ce n'est pas un Liberal hold.
This majority was achieved entirely through floor crossing. There would not have been a majority if there wasn't the 5 floor crossings that we had. Speaking of floor crossings, I just want to make it very clear. I am against floor crossing of any kind. I don't care if a Liberal crosses over to the Conservatives, or if a Conservative crosses over to the Liberals, or even if a Liberal crosses over to the NDP. I'm against it. If they do it, they should resign and run in a by-election under their new party banner so they're accountable to the electorate. Which is what Marilyn Gladu would have had you think a few months ago, but decided that was no longer the case because now she is not doing that, and she has no intention of doing that, it looks like. So just a brief overview of what the floor crossings were if you weren't up to date on it, or if you're watching foreignly. Like, a floor crossing is basically one person from one party decides they don't want to be a part of their party anymore, and they switch parties. So like a conservative, for example, will flip to the liberal side and sit with them instead of sitting with their liberal or conservative caucus, and they will be a member of their party instead of being a conservative again. So we've had 5 floor crossings, and I'll go from most recent to least recent. We had Marilyn Gladue, and it was either Matt Generu or Michael Ma. Before that, we had Lori Idloot, and we had the first floor crosser, Chris D'Entremont from Nova Scotia. Now, I don't know if that was entirely in order. I think it was. I'll try my best to see if that was. But yeah, they all crossed the floor because Carney made backroom deals with them entirely. There was no, I don't stand with my party anymore. I didn't run on what their position is now. I didn't run on that. No, Mark Carney was actively pursuing people to join his government so he could get a majority, because he hates trying to get the support of other parties. He wants to pass his agenda without being stopped. He does not like being said to him. He's a very, very type of guy who wants to be said yes to all the time, which is why he chased the majority. But this is a fragile majority. This is a very, very fragile majority, meaning that a few people can be gone and it's a minority government again. A few people could be sick and it's a minority government, meaning they could collapse. So the suspiciousness of these floor crossers is that they all crossed at very specific times. D'Entremont crossed right before the budget vote, when the Liberals needed more support than ever. Ma crossed right over Christmas, so the Liberals would dominate the news cycle. Generu crossed right before the China trip, and Lori Idloot crossed right after her province received a bunch of funding, from the federal government, right after her riding received a bunch of funding. And Marilyn Gladue crossed right before, and kind of during, the start of the scandal we're in with our finance minister, Philippe Champagne, which we'll talk about later, and which also was before the Liberal convention, like a couple days before or something. It was insane. Insanely close timing.
Would you still be changing parties if the Liberal government was not on track to form a majority? Is this about opportunity?
This is actually the best thing for my riding, for the country, and for myself.
So, what this majority indicates with Carney chasing power like he has, is he was unstable from the start. There is probably instability in his party, which we saw with caucus revolt not long ago, where a bunch of liberal MPs, including the new floor crosser, voted against the government on a motion proposed by the NDP. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this again. A lot of people in the Liberal Party do not like Carney, I don't think. Like the backbenchers. His cabinet mostly is fine with him, I think, because they're getting benefited from it. But I don't think a lot of the backbenchers like him, because this is not what they ran on. They see that this is a manufactured majority that the people did not ask for. And they see the consequences that stem from this. And part of the thing is, there is going to be people resigning soon. We already know that Nate Erskine-Smith from Beaches East York will be resigning eventually to run for Ontario Liberal leadership. But there's also rumors, and honestly probably a pretty big likelihood, that Jonathan Wilkinson will resign for a diplomatic position overseas like Bill Blair did. And that riding could go NDP or Conservative. It only has gone Liberal since Wilkinson has been there, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. And Beaches East York, I think it is riding Avi Lewis, the new leader of the NDP, could win. So that is a big liability for the Carney government, because a lot of people are going to see, hey, I did not ask for this majority. They're going to see that it was achieved through floor crossing. They're eventually going to realize that, because some media outlets are pushing that it was achieved through floor crossing and that the Liberals didn't pick up any new seats, and they would vote NDP or Conservative in a by-election instead of voting Liberal. The reason why we didn't see a stronger NDP or Conservative vote in the by-elections in Toronto or Terrebonne is because it's not a federal election, so you won't get, people are like, oh, it's not really a big deal. Like, a lot of the moderate people just don't see the thing with voting in a non-federal election. So they just vote for the party that's in power, or they protest vote or whatever. And in Terrebonne, a lot of the Conservatives actually voted Bloc. You could see it in the percentage of the vote. And it was a pretty strong showing for that. Basically, the moral of that story is there's clearly instability in Carney's government, even with this majority. Because now with the majority, there is no room for error. Before, there was no problem. They could have gotten a trade deal, because that is not a parliamentary thing. They could have gotten a trade deal with the US, because that is entirely a diplomatic thing that doesn't involve parliament almost whatsoever. And they didn't need to vote on really anything there, so that they could have gotten that done. But Carney's defense for the majority, one of the defenses will be that he needed it to get a trade deal with the US, which is not true. But if he doesn't get the trade deal, which he probably won't, it's come out that they haven't negotiated properly since October. I don't think they'll get the trade deal. And that's going to show a lot of people, hey, this guy was never good from the start, because he's been procrastinating, bringing up excuses for months now, almost a year. He's had a year as prime minister. He could have tried to get things passed, but he just didn't, and that's gonna be a huge liability for him. On top of Francois Philippe Champagne's scandal, which is happening right as the Liberal majority has happened, where they're trying to cover it up with the majority, and the opposition parties are not going to back down, because they know they need everything they can possibly throw at the government right now, and this is one of the strongest things. And I think this scandal is going to evolve more than just a conflict of interest scandal. This is going to evolve beyond that. This could involve for more investigations into cabinet ministers, more scrutiny to other ministers, and more looking into that sort of stuff, because this scandal is probably one of the biggest we've seen in recent memory, because in the Trudeau years, there was 2 scandals a year or something, so it kind of got watered down. But in this Carney's new government, a scandal of this magnitude hasn't been seen yet, especially with the timing, and they're trying to cover it up with the circumstance of the majority. So a lot of you may be wondering what the opposition strategy is. Specifically, I'll talk about the Conservative strategy, because I'm a Conservative, but I think Pierre is still the best leader, because he got big gains in the election, although he didn't win. And in preferred prime minister polling, sure, Carney is ahead, but preferred prime minister polling says nothing, because you'll get all of the NDP, the Bloc, all of that. They know that their party leader won't become prime minister, so they'll just say Mark Carney to make things easier. So that's why you get big 60% preferred prime minister. And in the polls right now, when David Coletto from Abacus came out with his study showing that a lot of the pollsters haven't been quite truthful, the Conservatives and Liberals are actually a lot closer than we thought. Or, well, a lot of us anticipated they were this close, but to what the public thought, the Liberals were way ahead. They were doing a great job. But to people who followed politics, something was off. And the latest Abacus poll that came out shows around right where it should be. Overall, Pierre is still the best leader. He has gotten the party its best showing since Harper's days, and He is a very strong voice against the government. He has gone diplomatically, even in some cases, in the US, in Britain, all of that, and he's trying to do what's best for the country. And what I think the broader conservative path is from here is to just keep doing what they're doing. Keep going on media, on podcasts, keep scrutinizing the government. Keep scrutinizing the government, the official opposition, but they're just gonna broaden that strategy. They're gonna go even harder on it, and they're gonna run. I hope they do this. I hope they run on more policy heavy ideas, more right-leaning ideas, because historically, if the conservatives ran more right-leaning on something like Mulrooney or Harper did, they win, because the people will see what the conservatives actually have to offer instead of just like a centrist view of it, which is what Kim Campbell did in 1993, and she lost horribly. She got 2 seats, and that basically created the Progressive Conservative Party. So the moral of the story here is that Carney's majority is entirely manufactured. It wasn't won through the voters. It wasn't wanted. The people wanted a strong opposition. This was achieved entirely through floor crossing. Sure, the by-elections solidified it, but they were going to win those anyway. Terrebonne was won really close. Like, I thought the Bloc would have won that, but honestly, I'm not really surprised that the Liberals won. But they would have won those Toronto seats anyway, and they would have gotten a majority from those alone. So, even if those by-elections didn't happen, if he courted those 5 MPs over and Freeland and Blair were still in Parliament, they still would have gotten the majority. Like, this is, no matter what they say, this isn't defensible. They didn't get it through elections. They did not. It was entirely from floor crossing. So, my call would be to message your MP, Liberal, NDP, I don't care, Conservative, Liberal, whatever. Tell them your stance on floor crossing. You're against it. Tell them that you elected them to, and be nice. Do not harass them, please. Do not harass them. Tell them that you elected them, or even if you didn't elect them, the majority of people in your riding elected them to serve you, and you do not want to see them cross. You want to see them have merit, even if they are someone you don't like or didn't elect. We can wait for another election for that to happen, and I am sure that this will ruin Carney, because a lot of stuff is going to start piling up really fast against him, because with a majority, there is no excuse for stuff like this. People expect stability. That's what a lot of people like about majority governments. They see stability as one of the key factors. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This one was a shorter one. I'm coming back after a while. I've got some other stuff planned, and this time for real, I'm not gonna ditch you guys again. I know I said that last video, and then I just kind of went radio silent for a month or two. But this time, I can assure you that I am back. I'm planning. Even if it takes me a little bit, I am back. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.